America. I put on my tie this morning in honor of yesterday's election process, which afforded me the opportunity to exercise my right to vote. I hope that everyone had the same great experience at the polling place that I did, as I walked straight in, voted, and was on my way again within 10 minutes from start to finish. My right to vote is a right as a U.S. citizen I personally hold in very high esteem. Our rights to vote have been provided to us by predecessors who paved the way through determination and sacrifice. So no matter which way the elections ended up yesterday, or which way they'll end up in hopefully the near future, it's always my hope that we can remember that what binds us together as Americans is always stronger than anything that can divide us. Now, please help me welcome our Rotarian of the Day and fellow Baylor graduate, Phil Lakin.
Second, Paul, thank you very much. Hey, it's really great to see everybody. I don't get to participate in these things very often because we have council meetings scheduled simultaneously, but it's good to see familiar faces, even if they're just names on a screen. I still know that I'm part of a great, big, broad family that I deeply love. Today, obviously, it's an honor for me to get to introduce my good friend and our police chief, Wendell Franklin. Wendell, as many of you know, is a 23-year Tulsa Police Department veteran and is Tulsa's 40th police chief. He has deep roots in Tulsa. He went to elementary school here, high school. He's a graduate of the Booker T. Washington High School, and he held his first jobs before TPD here. But for me, there is no better person at no better time to lead our city's police force. Many of you already know Wendell. You know him like I do, to be a humble, hardworking, faithful, widely respected man. He's pretty funny too, and I think you'll see and hear some of that come out during his presentation. But you know, he's also serious and he's focused, and he has to be. Regardless of all the leadership and emergency preparedness training that I'm sure he has done before becoming police chief, nothing could have readied him for the challenges that he has faced in these first few months of office. A worldwide pandemic, a presidential rally in his hometown during a time of heightened civil unrest, and then the death of and critical injury to 2 active duty police officers. 848 police officers look to Wendell to lead them during these extraordinary times, as do we, 400,000 Tulsans. Officers will also look to him during the normal times when he has to cast a vision that will cause these officers to equitably and near perfectly enforce statutes and ordinances in all circumstances under an unending number of varying conditions. These 848 employees, our police department, are unlike any that we in our own businesses manage. They have to respond immediately, armed and protected day or night to our homes or businesses when they are called for virtually any and every reason imaginable. Sometimes these 848 will have to put themselves between us, their customers, if you will, and those who want to do us harm. But many times they get to instigate acts of everyday kindness as well, from stopping their proactive patrols in the neighborhood to play a pickup game of basketball with a group of kids, to searching a house for monsters to help a little girl get a good night's rest, or to buying and delivering groceries to an elderly couple who couldn't get out of their house due to recent floods. They do it all for us under Wendell's quiet and focused direction and guidance. So Chief, we are extremely grateful to have you do what you do for us every single day, and for the vision that you form and create for the future of our police department, and in many ways, our entire city. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you today. And again, we're really delighted to have you as our guest speaker. Rotary, please welcome our police chief, Wendell Franklin.
Thank you. Phil, how long do I have?
I think 2 hours and 15 minutes.
That's too much time, way too much time.
I think, what, 30 minutes, folks? 25, Paul?
About 20 minutes for the presentation, and then we'll take questions if you have time for questions. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. And Paul, good to see you again. Paul and I served on a board together with Habitat for Humanity in Tulsa. So good to see him again. Really, this, had I known what was ahead of me when I accepted this job, I probably would have, I don't know, I would have had to think a little bit longer on whether or not to accept the position. It has certainly been the most difficult time in my life. And I know that the officers on our department have endured just as much as I have. But really for me, the person that keeps me sane and well-grounded is my wife. And I know my wife has endured the stress at a level probably twice of what I have endured, because as I am in our command post or on the scene of something or working here in the office, she is watching the media, she's watching social media, and she's doing something that I've told her never to do, and that is to read the comments on social media. So she does read that, and it stresses her out. But she is the one that keeps me well grounded and is my sounding board for everything. Well, this time that we are all in, who would have ever thought that we would be in a pandemic in 2020, and then everything that comes along with that, from shutdown, from the economy taking a turn. When I first took office, Mayor Bynum and I was so enthusiastic about this job and so enthusiastic about where I could see our department going, really delving into the technology aspect, because we are so behind in technology on the police department. If you don't believe me, go to our website and you'll see just 1990-ish website design there. But to go from being flush with cash to now, furloughs and trying to make the department work on reduced income taxes from the city is a monumental task. And couple that with everything that we are dealing with from across our nation. Our nation has seen a spike in violent crime. Tulsa is no different from that, with the possibility that we might break our all-time high of 82 homicides in one calendar year. We sit at 72 or 73 right now, with some time left in the year. So lots of different complexities that are driving that. And it's interesting that from day one, I've never been asked any question about our violent crime and our shootings and our homicides. It's always something else. I equate this job to being like a professional coach, if you will, at a college or even in the NFL or some other professional athletic organization. And I'm hoping everyone can understand that, because I see like the mayor as the owner of the team, and then there's a GM, and that, I don't know, that GM could be maybe a city manager. Of course, we don't have a city manager, but then you have the sports reporters, and the sports reporters, I'm going to call the sports reporters the social activists. And then we have the fans. The fans that are in the stands are the community. They're the ones that are invested in everything. But then you also have the TV fans. And those TV fans, those are the social media warriors. And so what's the difference? The TV fan, really don't have a whole lot of influence. They have very little influence. But when you talk about law enforcement, it's not that way in the law enforcement realm. Those TV fans or the social media warriors, man, they drive everything. And so that is a difficult dynamic for law enforcement to overcome, because when something is put out on social media, whether it's true or a half truth, as soon as it grows legs, it grows wild. And law enforcement, just like any government entity, is not really set up to be able to quickly respond and refute any type of allegation. It's very difficult to do because there are so many different intricacies that we have to worry about before we release information, and trying to make sure that the information is true and correct, being of the utmost importance. But social media makes us have to move at such a more expeditious manner, a manner that we're not used to doing. And that difficulty shows. So as I continue on with this analogy of this, of law enforcement being like a professional team, you know, a coach can make a decision, and I'm going to use the Seattle Seahawks as an example. The coach there made a decision during a Super Bowl, I think it was, and he decided that they were on the 2-yard line, and Marshawn Lynch was the running back. Marshawn Lynch is this power running back that always falls forward, that is always going to pick up the tough yards, and they're right there on the goal line. They have an opportunity to win the game. Who are you going to go to? Typically, you go to that running back. But Pete Carroll had a different idea. Pete said, we're going to throw the pass. We're going to throw a pass on the goal line. It's going to be a touchdown, 6 points. They line up under center, and Russell Wilson fakes and then zips a pass in, and that pass is intercepted. The game is over. They lose the Super Bowl. Pete Carroll is roasted for this decision that he made to go for to throw the ball instead of to give it to their ace running back. So fans are upset. People are upset, but you know what? That next year, Pete Carroll was back coaching that team, and to this day, Pete Carroll still remains the head coach there, and they're a phenomenal team. Yes, he made a call. That call should have worked, but it didn't work, and people roasted him for that call. But if you even look at that play and you delve down into that play, that was actually not his fault. The inside receiver was supposed to come off the ball hard, and he was going to create what they call a rub route that should have left that guy, the other wide receiver, open for the catch. And that inside receiver was just a little bit lazy. He didn't come off the ball hard on the snap, and he didn't get to his to rub that route properly. And it resulted in that defensive player being able to pick the ball off. But nobody looks at that. Everybody looks at the outcome. Law enforcement is the exact same way. The only difference is what's taking place now in our society in law enforcement is one controversial thing taking place, one incident taking place, and the accountability to that chief of police, those chiefs are being terminated. Those chiefs are being fired. They can be used as a scapegoat if you want to call it that. But one incident that takes place, and that chief of police is fired. We're seeing that across our nation. And these are great chiefs of police. These are individuals that have great ideas for the policing community, but they're not ever able to carry them out because they don't have enough longevity in their seat to even be able to institute any type of change or institute any of the policies that they're trying to undertake. So that is the distinct difference. You have a coach makes a bad call in a Super Bowl and they don't win, but yet he's brought back year after year, and they are a very successful team. And you have a chief that a controversial issue takes place and they are immediately fired and thrown under the bus. That's law enforcement in general today. And luckily, I don't think Tulsa is in that boat, but we certainly, I certainly feel the pressure. I know in talking to the chief in Oklahoma City, he feels that same pressure of just trying to be right on every single instance. So we work hard to do that. So you're all in the business profession, and you all have people that you answer to and people that work for you. We are, you know, for me, I feel as though I am surrounded on all sides. I have the public that I have to answer to. I have officers that I have to answer to, and the officers expect a certain thing, a certain level from their leader, from an internal position. The public expects that police leader to be something from the external position, from their perspective. And then I'll even throw in there the media. The media expects that chief to be well, the media is there solely to sell television ads and newspaper ads, and they want to create that controversy. So it does make it difficult navigating the waters in any public service profession. And I'm sure that if Mayor Bynum were here or could speak to that, because, you know, I know you all have seen what he has gone through in his service to the public. And then the other thing that we have in law enforcement is we have politicians and politics. Maybe I was naive, I don't know, but I did not know how intertwined politics was in the law enforcement profession, but it is there. And so trying to navigate through all of those different things, those 4 different mediums that I just talked about, is very difficult. And for us in law enforcement, what is the future of policing? It is going to be a difficult feat for law enforcement because the expectations are sometimes unattainable. And until everyone realizes that these officers that are wearing the badge are just people also, we are people that have a job to do. We chose this profession, and we wear the badge and put on the uniform and carry the gun, all for because we want to help people. But it seems to me that law enforcement is the one that's really been scrutinized and really been the ones that are pressed to institute change, when realistically the change that has come about in our society is a change that I don't think it's for the best. In other words, we do adapt to what takes societal norms. We do adapt to that in law enforcement, but society has shifted so much that it makes it very difficult for law enforcement to do a job today. What the future of law enforcement is to me, it's up in the air, because as we go out and we try and recruit individuals to become police officers, Tulsa attempts to go after the best of the best. We are one of the only departments in the nation that requires a bachelor's degree for employment, and trying to go out to different colleges and universities and recruit in a profession that is under the microscope and is scrutinized and roasted in the media. Who would want to do the job? And that's what we are finding is difficult. And so as we move along in law enforcement, if the public is saying that police officers are racist and biased, then there's no way you're going to get quality applicants that want to be police officers, because they are just as much a part of that community that hears that if you go into the policing profession, then you're a racist or you're biased. So those are things that have to change, because if we are truly, if we're truly talking about trying to ensure that everyone is on equal ground and equal footing, then we've got to have the best people out there behind this badge and uniform, and we can't run them off. So that's what I see. You know, I look back to when I first came on this department and why I took the job. It was all about, I wanted to be a part of something bigger than just me. I wanted to be a part of something that that allowed me to face my fears, if you will, because it is a down and dirty job at times. And you know, I say there's something to be, I don't know, handling a person who just murdered or raped or destroyed someone's life, and you are the ones that's charged with taking that person into custody and getting that confession. Man, that is a very satisfying job. And I think that where we are today, that has been all muddled up because of different notions and different expectations that people might have, or I won't even say different expectations, but different ideas that people have placed on law enforcement. So I am at the 18-minute mark. So I will open it up to questions and hopefully be able to provide some good answers for you.
Thank you very much, Chief. Well done, as always. And I really do appreciate your perspective, as you've worn the badge in a number of different roles. And you know what it's like to be out there, the one making the call, and witnessing some really bad stuff in the field. And now I know you still are probably responding to some calls in a much cooler car than you had when you originally joined the force. But you're just allowing others to do so to the betterment of and for the betterment of our community. So here's a couple of questions that we have that came in over the chat box. If you have anything else to ask, just put it in the chat box and I'll see how many we can get to. Paul will cut me off at the cutoff point, I'm sure. So the first one is, are there functions currently being performed by TPD officers that might be better executed by other agencies, support services, or individuals?
Yeah, so here's the thing with law enforcement. We are the catch-all. And what has happened over the years in the state of Oklahoma, the state is in charge of our mental health. The city does nothing and does not have funding for mental health services. Those are typically done at the state level. And so as the state has over the years constantly cut that budget of our mental health, then when they closed all of the facilities and went to a different model for care for individuals with mental health issues, that put the burden upon law enforcement. And so now we have to deal with individuals in mental health crisis at a rate that's well beyond what we used to do when I first came on this department. That's one of the biggest things that's changed. Should we have a role in mental health? I think we have to have a role in mental health, because what's going to happen is if clinicians go out to a person that's in mental health crisis and that person is exhibiting violent behavior, they are not going to attempt to intervene in that situation. They're going to call law enforcement, and we are going to have to be the ones that step in and intervene and either bring that person under control using physical force, so that person can be evaluated and get the help that they need. But that is, to me, I would love for us not to be involved in the mental health aspect. That is a social service that should be provided by other service industries and not law enforcement. But I do understand that there is a need to have law enforcement involved in certain situations when a person is in crisis and violent.
Chief, to that point, the next question really does focus in on our community response teams. Will you describe more about our community response teams, how often they are working in the city, and who the other entities may be that we are working with as well? And then you might also expand that just to discuss what steps have been taken at the 911 center to intercede on behalf of those who call that do have a mental illness presenting.
Okay, so the community response team is a group made up. We're all collaborate together. It's the fire department, the Tulsa Police Department. There's an IMSA person involved, and then there's a clinician involved, and they are in one vehicle together. I believe they are up to 3 days a week now, and they are doing that from roughly regular work hours, 8 to 5. What they do is they target 911 super users, which is a term that we use. These are individuals that are draining our 911 system and might have some be in some mental health crisis. They go around, they check on individuals that have been that we have put back on their medication. I say we, I mean the mental health industry, where they've got them back on their medication. So they're doing follow-up care and ensuring that they are in a healthy state of mind, and they are also responding to any calls that appear to be mental health crisis related. So it's a collaborative effort. We would love to move that from a pilot program. It's been around for 3 or 4 years or more, and really it's time to either fully fund that or say we just can't do it. The other piece to that we just launched this year, and it was delayed due to the pandemic, is we have screeners in the 911 center now, so that our call takers, when they receive a 911 call, if they identify the person is in mental health crisis, then they can immediately transfer that call to people that are within 911 now, that are embedded with 911, and they can take the call, and they are more geared towards either trying to handle that call on the line or having COPES respond out to it to help assist that individual. So that's a great program that started. I know it is also in a pilot state, and it's only, I think they are working 12-hour shifts there. I don't remember the number of days a week that they're doing that, but we think that we'll see great benefits from that. And really, it's trying to put people in touch with the right social services as opposed to having a law enforcement response for everything.
Perfect. Yeah, those are two really exceptional programs that I think we have already seen tremendous benefit from, but we'll continue to see benefit from, as well as we go to the heart of the issue rather than just sending police for every single call. Okay, so switching gears, let's talk about the presidential rally. You had an opportunity to work with the Secret Service. The commenter is just saying that it looked really smooth from the outside, and is asking, how is it to work with federal agencies of all sorts whenever they come in and take over parts of your job and parts of Tulsa during events like this?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. We already have a great working relationship with our federal partners. Obviously, there is a Secret Service office here in Tulsa. Secret Service investigates certain criminal acts, particularly with currency. So we already have a working relationship with them. The FBI, ATF, all of those other alphabets. We work with all of them already and have liaisons that work directly with them. So whenever there is going to be a presidential visit, a vice presidential visit, or first lady or whatever, the call does come into us. And of course, as is customary, we will dedicate whatever resources necessary to ensure that dignitary makes it into Tulsa safely and makes it out of Tulsa safely. And the Secret Service, when they have what's called an advance team, when they come in, that advance team does not know anything about Tulsa. Now, on the presidential visit that took place here back in, I think it was June, the head guy that was on the advance team was a former Tulsa police officer. He left our department with about 5 years on and joined the Secret Service. So he was very familiar with Tulsa. I was very familiar with him, and it was a seamless working relationship. They do rely upon us quite a bit for our knowledge of the city and how to shut down parts of the city and what's the best ingress and egress routes to different facilities. So it's a very seamless and easy working relationship, and they really err on our side where they allow us to make those decisions regarding landing sites and all of that, because we just are local and we know our city. So they allow us to make those decisions for them, and we work around that. So it's pretty easy working relationship.
That's great. President Trump made a remark about how rough our roads are. I didn't know you had sent him through South Tulsa on his way to get to the BOK Center. Okay, so one more question. How have the circumstances that you outlined in your talk with us today affected recruiting? I know you're trying to build your police force. So how's that going, and how do you overcome some of the obstacles?
Well, Tulsa had already, the police department had already had difficulties in filling academy classes. We try and put on 3 30-man police academies a year as we attempt to grow our numbers. So this last group that we sat down to determine what that class would be like. We had 30 positions. we had a total of 27 that made it through the entire process for us to have selections from. And even when they make it to that selection piece, there are things that exclude them when we look into their background. So we make decisions, and like on this group, we ended up with 23, I believe, in that academy class, because we do not, even though a person makes it to the point of chief selection, doesn't mean that we're going to accept that person, because again, we are looking for the best of the best, and I don't feel comfortable trying to fill a class of 30, a spot of 30 with just 30 individuals that, because there's just too much at stake. There's, this, you know how well we're scrutinized. There's just too much at stake to just take any and everyone, even though they make it through the entire process. We're seeing it's getting more difficult, and it was difficult before. It was difficult because we had a very strong economy as well, and of course we require that bachelor's degree, and the pay's not the greatest for that bachelor's degree. So we've always struggled with that, and I think that this last class that we just selected, I would surmise that the class that we select after this later this year will be even more difficult to try and find viable applicants.
Chief, thank you again so very much for taking your very limited time to talk to us today. Tell us a little bit more about what you and your department get to do for all of us. We really do appreciate, again, everything that you personally do and that the police department corporately does for the city of Tulsa. So thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Counselor.
All right. Nice to see you.
Okay.
Thank you also to our city councilor and our club's past president, Phil Lakin, for serving as our Rotarian of the day. Thank you, Phil. Chief Franklin, it's good to see you again. And on behalf of everyone here, let me say thank you for taking time to speak with us today. As a citizen of Tulsa, I definitely feel better knowing you're our chief of police. And everyone I've spoken to has said you're the right guy for the job and a quality guy. And that's been my personal experience also. And I think you're doing a great job. So thank you again for everything you do and for joining us today.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Okay.
November is Rotary Foundation Month. At the 1917 convention, outgoing Rotary International President Arch Klump proposed setting up an endowment for the purpose of doing good in the world. That one idea and initial contribution of $26.50 set in motion a powerful force that has transformed millions of lives around the globe. In 1928, it was renamed the Rotary Foundation and became a distinct entity within Rotary International. The Rotary Foundation transforms your gifts into service projects that change lives both close to home and around the world. Since it was founded more than 100 years ago, the foundation has spent more than $4 billion on life-changing sustainable projects. Today, I'd like to encourage each of us to give $26.50 to the Rotary Foundation, the initial amount that was given by Arch Klump in 1917. Your contributions to the Rotary Foundation are essential to securing and growing Rotary programs throughout the world. You can make a donation by going to the Rotary International website. Thank you. Now I want to turn it over to our past president, Chuck Wilson, for a new member introduction. Chuck?
Yes, sir. And like Counselor Lakin, it is so good to see everybody. I miss my Rotary friends in person very much. Well, first of all, we have had tremendous applicants and now new members coming into this club in spite of our virtual meeting. So I encourage you to continue to invite your friends and your associates to join you on these Zoom calls so we can continue to bring wonderful people into our club. Today, I'm very pleased to announce that we have a new corporate member, and this is through our own Sarge, Carl Vincent. Corporate Realty Advisors is a commercial real estate brokerage group that specializes in helping their clients purchase, lease, and manage office, industrial, retail, and medical buildings and spaces profitably. Since 2004, CRA has served clients ranging from Forbes 400 industrialists to local dental practices in making good investment choices for their business operations. Notable recent transactions included 100% lease up of the South Mingo Plaza Professional Building at 82nd and Mingo, acquisition and redevelopment of a medical office building at 44th and Harvard, and representation of the Veterans Administration in leasing a COVID PPE warehouse in Oklahoma City. We're so proud to have Corporate Realty Advisors as our newest corporate member. And then also joining us from that group is someone that most of us know, Bree Sokovia. Bree, we're so happy to have you officially. You've already done so much for Rotary, and thank you for that. She is a graduate from Oklahoma State University in 2013 with a hotel and restaurant administration degree with a minor in entrepreneurship. After helping manage the food and beverage side of a hotel for a couple of years in Stillwater, she moved back to where she grew up, the wonderful city of Tulsa. Being in the hospitality industry for a while, she decided to make a change and try commercial property management with Ruffin Properties. By making this career change, she has been able to be more involved with her community through TIPROS and now the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Bree serves on the board for the Tulsa SPCA. She hopes to have more opportunities to grow and make more of a difference in our community. And Bree, I guarantee you, we're going to give you that opportunity. Welcome to Rotary. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you for joining us, Bree. We look forward to having you in our club. Now I'll turn it over to our Sarge Carl Vincent. Sarge?
President Paul, holy cow, you know, having the opportunity to have our police chief speak and be someone of integrity that our community can appreciate, that's a powerful thing. That's one of the things I enjoy about Rotary. And I'm so glad today that Bree has joined the club as she's firing up our slideshow. She's been a great asset to me over the past few years. I know she'll be a great asset to Rotary. So we kind of switched a little bit, President Paul. This month, we're doing Rotary Wood Squares. I don't know if you remember that old show, Hollywood Squares, but we're doing Rotary Wood Squares. And as I was thinking about that, kind of came up with a few different ideas. But President Paul, I'll ask you, as the Rotary Wood Square screen comes up here, if I was actually talking to Chuck Wilson a little earlier and asked him, you know, as he gets older, are any of his senses being diminished? Do you know what sense he told me was being diminished, President Paul?
I don't know.
Past President Chuck said his sense of decency was diminishing, and that generates some concern for me, really. But we have to deal with these things, and we have to deal with Zoom calls, sharing screens. I know Bree is working on that as we speak.
Sorry, give me just 1 second.
No problem. I was talking to one of our other past presidents, Paul, and Ed Monette. And Ed Monette knew we had a program coming up with a police chief. And for some reason, Ed is always concerned about motorcycle gangs. And he called and asked me if I happen to know why motorcycle gangs wear leather. Would you know the answer to that, President Paul?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Ed told me that motorcycle gangs wear leather because chiffon wrinkles too easily. I don't know if our police chief can back that up or not. So for those of you who have been around a while, you may remember the old Hollywood Squares. Those two jokes came from the original Hollywood Squares show, and we'll try to put a few more of those in there as we go by. In the meantime, we'll kind of move along with this. Our screens will come up here in a bit, but President Paul, if you were to pick a character to select for recognition in Hollywood Squares, is there a Rotary member you might think of?
I think I'd select the crafty Cayenne Kemis.
crafty Cayenne Camus. So if you would picture in your mind, folks, a 3x3 grid, and Cayenne Camus is in the upper left, and we're putting a marker down there. Cayenne Camus came in with a fine of $20. She's promoting a new type of TIF district in downtown Tulsa in the Greenwood district to promote more development. She put that fine in for us. We appreciate that. And so you got one marker on the board in the upper left corner, President Paul. If you were to pick another Rotary member you can think of, maybe for a birthday character, who would it be?
How about Steve Wood, the spectacular sailor?
Well, Steve Wood is one of our members who paid a $100 fine today because it is his birthday this month. He sent us a great picture of him on his sailboat. Looks to me to be about a 40-foot sailboat, and he's out either on the Gulf of Mexico or off Coronado Island. And he asked us to let all of his Rotary friends know that he is not sailing into the sunset, but he is certainly having the time to enjoy his birthday on the water today. Kind of wish I could be there with him. Frankly, it's been beautiful weather the past couple of days. So now you've got two X's diagonally, President Paul. You're doing good. You're doing good. Would you pick another third Rotary member that might have a fine in for us?
Yes, I think I'd select our newest member, Bree Segovia.
Well, that's perfect. Beautiful Bree Segovia is on the board of the SPCA, and she paid a $50 fine to let all of us know that they've got a big event coming up for the SPCA. And it's the Fiesta at the Beach event for the SPCA. It's going to be a virtual event online. And she wanted to invite everyone at Rotary to participate in that virtual event. She paid a $50 fine. That fine is matched by the Bruni Law Firm, which we appreciate Ken Bruni doing that. And then we have, so you got three in a what row, President Paul? It's diagonal from upper left to lower right. You did a good job. And we have one more mystery fine. It's a $100 fine from one of our Rotarians who wanted to make a contribution. But there you go. You can see the Rotary Wood squares there now on the screen. Cayenne Camus upper left and across there. So folks, if you've got something we can pay a fine for, we really need to raise some money for the foundation. We've been making calls. Bree and I both have made calls to invite people to participate. And we need some more folks to step up and bring us some fines. So you can see the program slipping by there now. And we appreciate you participating. President Paul, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sarge Carl. Appreciate all your work. We want to say a special thanks to this week's sponsors, Hearts for Hearing, Arun Joshi and Joanna Smith, Fine Airport Parking, Chris Ambergy and Sherry Fine, Price Waterhouse Coopers, Daniel Simone and Kevin McManus, Lewis Roofing, Kevin Lewis and Ken Freeman. Upcoming programs we have are November 10th, Senator Jim Inhofe will be with us. November 18th, Jim Stovall will be here. So please join us for those. Throughout the holiday season, there is one sound that can be heard above all the hustle and bustle, and that's the ringing of bells. Thursday, December 3rd is our day for ringing for the Salvation Army. You'll be able to sign up online starting next week, so look for that information in the coming Monday message. The Shop with the Cop Committee will meet today at 1:10 p.m. The Zoom link is in the Monday message. The Shop with the Cop will take place on December 5th from 8:30 to 11:30 at the Target located at 1701 South Yale. The experience helps to create new relationships between children and the police working together to shop. The children see the police officers as real people with whom they can communicate. It also helps families who do not have money to purchase gifts. Rotarians, you can make a difference and brighten the holidays for Celia Clinton students by making your contribution to our Shop with the Cop program or by volunteering to help the day of the event. The District 6110 Youth Exchange team is now receiving applications from high school students to spend a year abroad studying under the scholarship program for the academic year of 2021 and 2022. If you have a child or grandchild who might be interested in applying, please contact Duff Weddle. This week, you should have received or Director-at-Large ballot in the mail. Be sure to mail your ballot to the Rotary office postmarked by November 13th. The Director-at-Large will serve a 3-year term beginning July 1st, 2021. The nominee receiving the greatest number of votes will be announced at the annual election held via Zoom on December 2nd. If you have any questions, please contact the Rotary office. In closing, it's already November and Thanksgiving will be upon us before we know it. So please, as you go through your day today, to remember the words of legendary UCLA basketball coach John Wooden: make each day your masterpiece. And then we'll try to string those days into months and the months into another Rotary year masterpiece. Thank you for joining our meeting today, and please have a safe and great week.